Wait until it updates and tells me. Okay. I
It
think
says
we
the stream
are.
is live.
Yes. It takes like a minute of buffering, and then it always takes a minute to like send out everywhere. I think we want that setting. I think that's good. Okay. People, we should be live. If you can see us, hear us, whatever, if we're not being lied to by the StreamYard interface, let us know if you can. I don't know. Okay. Hello, evening.
Hello.
Hello, Dick. Some words that I don't know what those are. Is it prone to lying? Yeah. So the interface is not prone to lying. However, I always feel like the one time that I don't ask, it will be. And also the last time I was doing a Patreon world building live stream, I wasn't doing my camera because I was like doing it from bed. And I didn't realize that by not adding my camera, it didn't add my audio. And no one told me for an hour that no one could hear me. And they were just watching me doodle like plants. So.
When we were doing the World Building Festival, I didn't realize until after I had finished the food stream with Jake that I had my microphone unplugged the entire time. Thankfully, my onboard mic kicked in, and I still came across surprisingly audible. But yeah, that was an oversight.
Yep. It's usually the user error or user incompetence that gets me more so than any of these tools actually not working. But we'll see. Yes. So for people, we are going to start, as the title of the stream says, we're going to start the verby ergative daughter that we had kind of briefly touched on the last time Bib was here. And by touched on, I mean mentioned that this would eventually be a thing that would happen. Sometimes people just work silently on project live streams. I mean, yeah, but I was talking for an hour and no one heard any of it. I was wondering why people weren't interacting with me on the chat. And I was like, oh, people just aren't engaging today. Whatever. I'm just going to blab, but it's fine. They were just thinking, yeah. So before we get into the specific things, I have a funny thing. Is your funny thing related? We should wait till we get to it, or
mine isn't a funny thing, but it's not related.
Your thing, unrelated thing. Okay, I'll go first then, and then you go, and then we'll show the tab with the other fun thing. So,
sure.
If you are all familiar with our wonderful book, The World Lexicon of Grammaticalization, whatever that we were looking at last time, right? Which, if you look at this, it's very chunky, right? Not the type of thing that you'd want to just read cover to cover, right? Because this would just be really long, right? I realized after the last stream that it is almost identically the exact same size as my book.
Oh.
Which is kind of funny. That's my funny thing. If you wanted a size comparison, there you go.
You should use that in the marketing.
Yeah.
Have that on the back of the book. The same length as the World Lexicon of Grammaticalization.
Yeah. It's like within, I think it's within like 20 or so pages. Lengthwise, like thickness-wise is the same. It's a different type of paper, but yeah, it's good. Okay. So we have that. So then you have a thing, Bib.
I do. It's not much of a thing, but I think I'll just paste it in the main tab.
Okay.
So this is just something that I've been meaning to do for a while, and I just had a few extra hours earlier this week. Because we had talked about dragons a fair bit during the World Building Festival, and I was hoping during those streams that I would have a little bit more time to do like a proper sketch of a dragon at some point, and we had to cram that into like the final 5 minutes.
Okay.
And so I just decided to, I don't know when it's going to update, but there we go.
Dude, that's so cool.
So this is what I would have drawn if I had had more time.
Oh my gosh. You said this wasn't that cool. This is super cool. Oh my god.
I mean, I just touch it up in a few places here and there. I had to remove the hat, sadly.
Oh no.
But I also gave it a binomial name for some reason. don't do that. Like that,
Mhm.
I just did that out of force of habit. But do not feel obligated in any way to give all of your dragons scientific names, especially using Greek and Latin nomenclature, because that would be nonsensical.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's so cool.
it was very difficult to make the breath weapon come
Mm.
across the way I was envisioning it, with the venom spraying from the teeth and then kind of exploding in midair. But
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah, I
so
think it
cool.
kind of gets it across decently.
Yeah, you could definitely see it for sure. That's so cool. Yeah, dragon fuzz, exactly, Jake.
Yes. And I gave it like a fuzzy sort of mane, just as a, I don't know, a cool
'Cause why
little
not?
detail.
Why not? That's so cool.
It's also, I made it a fairly mid-sized species, because I can't remember how much we talked about this, but generally
Mhm.
speaking, I would expect that the breath weapon would be more potent in smaller species, because once you get beyond a certain size, why would you even have a breath weapon? Like, you have, giant claws and teeth that
Yeah.
can, do the damage for you. So I kept this one kind of a mid-sized species, too small to ride, but
Mhm.
still decently, like, it can rear up tall enough to like look a grown person in the eye. So still pretty big.
This is so cool. I may or may not be Googling what 1.4 meters is in feet.
Madame Knees, I believe there is more than one of them, but the one that immediately comes to mind is boa constrictor.
Hmm.
I swear there's at least one other one that I can't think of at the moment.
That's so cool.
I keep going back to rat, but that's just ratus, which isn't quite the same.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
So 4 foot
anyway,
7 inches.
shall we do what we came here to do?
Yes. We can proceed to the the actual conlanging part of the stream. Although honestly, a 7-minute intro is not that bad for
Oh God,
rambling.
we're already 7 minutes in. Wow, we gotta
We're
cut this.
only 7 minutes in.
Well, we've got a lot to cover, so
That's true.
well, at
Okay,
least I think we
so
do.
yes. So we're starting the verby ergative daughter, and like a reasonable human being, Bib wanted some kind of idea of the direction I wanted this to go in, which, as I'm sure Jake will greatly sympathize, I really struggle with. So what we did is I made a mood board. So that's what we're going to be starting with, is this mood board, which
I thought was lovely.
that one. It vibes. I will give it that.
And that's the important thing. Like, as long as you have a clear, but not even necessarily a clear, even a vague direction of the sort of direction that you want the language to go in, that's fine. Like, I think like chartreuse is a very interesting comparator there. That's
It's the first thing I put on here too, was chartreuse.
interesting. So as long as these things all mean something to you, that's all fine and good. Because you very often see lay people describe languages using these sort of airy-fairy terms of saying like, oh, this language is very flowing or mellifluous, or this language is very ugly, or like all of these terms that don't actually mean anything concrete.
Yeah.
But as long as that means something to you, and then I can say, okay, what about this thing? And you can tell me if that matches the idea that you have, then we should be able to make that work.
Yeah. It'll be good. It'll be good. And I'll be very decisive.
Cool. So I guess the first thing we should to make note of is that when I first asked you if you had any notions about what this language is going to be like, you said that you wanted to include some back of the throat sounds.
Yeah, I was like, that would be different.
I believe that was the first thing you said. So I thought about it for a bit, and I think in this case it would be the easiest way to handle it would be to just say that if we look at the updated chart for the seedlang. I spoke with Jake about this, and they have agreed to add a uvula series, which we can assume, unless Jake has any other more specific ideas, we can assume that in the Italianate branch, the uvula consonants just merged with the velar consonants and left no remnant. Just because there are ways that you can get uvulas from not having uvulas, but they're kind of very roundabout and difficult to justify a lot of the time. And I think it would be easier in this case if we just say, because you can lose uvulas really easy. There's loads of ways to do that, but gaining uvulas is much harder.
Okay.
So, and besides, that would mean like if you wanted to use uvulas in some other branch, you would have to like re-evolve uvulas again, which would be really tricky. So I think it's easiest and cleanest to just say that there are some uvulas in the proto-lang. So we now have a uvula series.
Yay.
So where shall we start with this? Well, I guess I wrote down in the tab for the ergative branch that oh yeah, do we want to talk about so you had already said that you had designated the ergative branch as being P.
Oh, I think so. That sounds right. P, yes. So that is where is it? This purple friend right here. This little purple friend.
Okay. And so P on that little genealogical diagram leaves lots of descendants. And so I believe we talked about this. The idea was that in P there is some sort of ergative system, and then the different daughter languages go in different directions with it. Like one uses it as like a split based on animacy, and another is based on tense or aspect or something. And so we could play around with different ergative patterns in the different descendants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think P would work for that. Cool. So then as for, so you provided with your little mood board some sample words.
Yes.
And I've listed those at the bottom of the ergative branch thing there.
Okay.
And you sent them an IPA, which is nice.
Mostly because I don't actually have any idea how these would be pronounced, and I was just like pulling them from what was on this side of the, so we don't need to have all of these sounds or all of these IPA characters, but they vibed.
Cool. Yeah. And that's all that matters at this stage. So there are several things that we can immediately discern based on these sample words. First one is, and I think you've picked this up, or we might have talked about this at some point previously, that uvulas very often have the effect of changing the vowels around them to pull them down or back. It's called uvular coloring. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if it was how intentional this was, but you've got these after the Q. It's not just an ah, it's like an ah. It's like it's a back ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, in that first word, that cluster is absolutely nightmarish. It's a voiceless pharyngeal followed by a uvular trill. So it's like kahluman, because you have to go ha and then ra. So it's like kahluman. Really hard.
You could tell I didn't actually know how any of these things were actually pronounced, and was like, look, they're just on this side of the table. We'll go with it.
Oh, that's cool. We can roll with that. So I guess the one thing that's probably best to talk about sooner rather than later is syllable structure. Because if we look at these words, we can see that there is a maximum of like 2 consonants coming next to each other in all these clusters. There's no cluster with more than 2 consonants, right?
Yeah.
So is that like a specific vibe that you're going for? Like if I proposed, let's just make up a word now. If I say that I should switch to my IPA keyboard. 1 second. Is it going to work? Yes. Okay. So if I were to propose a word like, no, that's not right. How do you do? No, I'll get there eventually. There we go. So if I were to propose this word, constro, does that vibe?
No.
No?
Mm-mm. I feel like it's like it. I like the idea of having less of the consonants because like it feels more like. Did I put this on this? Like bouncy? Is that like a word? Like shorter, more like. I don't know if that's a term, but like I feel like with getting
It's
into the
not, but I
weird
think I know what you
sounds.
mean.
Yeah, with getting into like these, not like weird, but like they're less familiar to me and probably less familiar to a lot of like English readers in general that would be reading my books. I feel like having less of the weird to them sounds in one spot would be easier and also easier to spell. Hopefully.
Okay.
I'm guessing. I don't actually know.
So we're going with relatively open syllables. We still definitely have clusters, but we might provisionally say that we have a syllable structure of, well, at least word internally, of CVC, which is interesting because if I recall, if we go back to the seedlang, the syllable structure that we have in the seedlang is CAVAC, where A is an R or an L, and a C is an obstruent, probably. So that means, as we can see by this excellent example word, blarb, klarb. Excuse me, I did the stress wrong. Blarb, klarb. There we go. As you can see, we can get clusters of up to 3 consonants. So that means that with our sound changes, we're going to have to reduce some of those in some ways so that we can only end up with a maximum of 2.
Okay.
That gives us something to aim for, which is cool. But also, I noticed that there is one word here, this word kok, there we go, which has a consonant cluster at the beginning of the word. It has this K-R sequence. Whereas every other word begins with only one consonant. So, what do we think about this? Do we want to, because there are some languages where they are perfectly content to have quite complex clusters in the middle of words, but they don't like clusters at the beginning or end of words. Like, I should have a NatLang example, but the first example that comes to mind is one of my own languages. So like in Nakachti, Nakachti is happy to have quite complex internal clusters, like the ending, there's a nominalization suffix that's basically the equivalent of like the tion suffix in English that turns a verb into a noun, and it's atstri. So the ts is an affricate, so that counts as one consonant, and then you got the t and an r, so you got 3 consonants in a row, but you are not allowed to have any clusters at the beginning or end of a word. The beginning and end of the word can only have a maximum of 1 consonant.
I do like that. I feel like it helps with the like helping it flow a little bit, and you like can build up a little bit of momentum where you could recognize or start to pronounce the beginning of the word, and then if it gets a little bit more tricky, then like at least you're in it and like the momentum has already started, and I like it.
Okay, so does that mean you want to disallow this initial cluster?
We can murder it.
Okay, and while we're on the topic of Nakashti, that actually reminds me. So one way that we could affect that change is something that I did in Nakashti, but it also happened in Spanish. So I'm going to use a NatLang example because it's better, or more helpful an illustration, I think. So in Latin, if you had a word like stupidus, yeah, that's a good word, stupidus, and then that as it came into Spanish, at some point along the way, Spanish decided that it didn't like these word initial ST clusters.
Mm.
And so they fixed it by sticking a vowel on the front, which is why in Spanish it's now estúpido.
Oh, yeah.
So this ST is now no longer at the front. So we could do something similar here where maybe the older version of the word used to be cock. I keep doing that vowel too tense. Cock. Whereas then they were like, at some point, we don't like these initial clusters anymore. Let's throw on an epenthetic vowel at the front. And that vowel could be basically anything. Like in Nakashti, I just used an E, just because that was just the one that vibed the most.
I do like that.
So that is a possibility. Another thing that just while it occurs to me, I'll mention is that languages can also vary in not just whether or not they allow clusters in the middle or at the ends of words, but like some languages are okay with clusters at the beginning of the word and not at the end of the word, or vice versa. So like in Italian, for example, we keep going back to Italian. In Italian, you get some quite exotic word initial clusters. You have words like stranguzzi. It's a type of pasta. So you have those three consonants at the beginning of the word. Or you get words like sveglia, which it's spelled with an S in the orthography, but it's actually pronounced like a Z. So it's zva at the beginning of the word. It means to wake up, or he or it wakes up. And you've got the word like sbagliata, which again, it's actually pronounced like a Z. So zba, and it's mistaken or incorrect. So Italian allows these fairly complex clusters at the beginning of a word. However, almost every single word in Italian ends with a vowel. So they like clusters at the beginning of a word, don't like clusters at the end of a word. Whereas you get the opposite of that in Turkish. So in Turkish, no word can begin with a cluster, but you can get clusters at the end of a word, like the word for color is rank, and the word for young is genç. That C should have a little cedilla underneath it, but I can't write it because I'm on my IPA keyboard. So yeah, basically, we've already established that we're not doing initial clusters if we're going with this epenthetic vowel idea. How do we feel about word final clusters? Do we also want to just say that those don't happen?
I feel like I could go either way. I definitely don't want to say like no, like I do not want to say we have to end in a vowel. I like the idea of like having some consonants at the end, which I mean, like I feel like half of these do.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm opposed to having a cluster at the end.
Okay, so like if I, again, just coming up with nonsense off the top of my head, if I came up with a word like karast. How about that? Does that vibe?
Yeah.
Okay. So potentially keeping some word final clusters. Cool. Yeah. So nope, that's not right. How do you do a hash with an IPA keyboard?
Oh.
Hold on. How about nope? There we go. Okay. So that means that we have a provisional syllable structure that we're kind of aiming for. So that means we need to take one second. We need to take this and turn it into this. And so we will need to come up with sound changes that do that for us.
Okay.
So first of all, before I forget, I'm just gonna throw down here, or I should use the proper term, vowel prosthesis. And we can decide on exactly what vowel is used to break up these initial clusters once we talk about what we're actually going to do with the vowels, because you had a note about the vowel system there that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've already got one idea for a sound change. That's some pretty good process, and we're only 26 minutes in. So, yeah, I think so. With this vowel system, you've written down on the little mood board with a question mark at the end, 3 vowel system.
Yes.
So was that consciously to kind of lean into the Arabicness of it all?
It was not intentional when I put it on there, and that I did see later when I was like trying to add a few more things to this and look up like what sounds I might be looking at. I did see that they also have 3 vowel system, which I don't know. I was more leaning towards the, if we're having weirder consonant sounds, it could be interesting to just limit the amount of vowel stuff, because I thought it would be easier for me trying to figure out how things are pronounced and stuff to just make it more straightforward. But I could also go anyway. I'm not set on that, hence the question mark.
Cool. So something that I think is important to bring up is that when we say a 3 vowel system, we've got to keep in mind the difference between phonemes and allophones. So like I'm pretty sure I'm safe in saying there is no such thing, nor could there ever be, a natural human language that had only 3 vowels that always surfaced exactly the same way every single time. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So when we say like, I might have shared this analogy at some point before. I don't know if this analogy makes any sense to anyone except me, but I think of phonology as being kind of like, you know, those little slider puzzles where it's like a picture and a bunch of little tiles and there's one missing and you have to move the things around until it makes a picture. Yeah, I kind of think of phonology as being like that, because like if you've got a tile and it's surrounded by on all sides by other tiles, that tile can't really move very much. It might be able to like jostle in place ever so slightly, but it's not really going to change its realization very much. Whereas if a tile is next to a gap, then it can slide back and forth. So sounds in the sound chart work kind of the same way. So if we've got a nice big full chart like the one that we've got for the seed line, like if we just take a random, like K, for example, the tenuous velar stop, like that's surrounded on all sides by, it's got a k on one side and a k on the other. So that's going to be realized more or less as a k pretty much every time. But if we were to remove some of these consonants, like if we, you know, like went like Hawaiian and we got rid of the T, so we only have 2 stops. We have P and K. That K, there's no T or K or K for it to bump into. So now it's free to sort of slide around in that whole space, which is like in Hawaiian, T and K are considered variants of the same sound. They're not considered phonemes. Like when I went to the 8th Language Creation Conference, I met a person from Hawaii, and their name was either Tai or Kai. You can pronounce it either way. So those sounds are just considered to be, you know, variations of the same thing.
Okay.
So the point that I'm trying to make in all this is that if we did have a 3 vowel system, that means a 3 phonemic vowel system. But that doesn't mean that you would only ever hear 3 vowels, you know? Like if you heard someone speaking a language with a 3-vowel system, it wouldn't sound like it was 3 vowels. It would sound like, there would be a lot of variation in the vowels that they actually say. It wouldn't be limited to just 3, if you see what I mean.
So to go then with the spirit of the mood board, then I think that it might actually be that I want lots of vowels, very specific vowels, that it's all very specific and more like exact how things are pronounced to make it simpler.
Okay. I mean, we can still lose distinctions. There's still plenty of directions we can go because we have a 6-vowel system in the seedlang, right? We've got a, e, o, u, and and so one of those directions involves the uvulas. So we might as well talk about those now. Yeah. So like we brought up earlier, the whole uvula coloring thing. So because uvulas and also other like pharyngeals can do this as well, since they're pronounced quite far back in the throat, the tongue has to kind of go quite far back, whereas the front vowels like e and e and just high vowels in general require the tongue to kind of jump forward. So it's kind of a complex maneuver. Like if you wanted to say like qi, like qi, your tongue has to go all the way back for the k and then all the way forward for the e. So very often the uvula can have the effect of pulling the vowel down or back or both.
Okay.
So exactly how that manifests, it doesn't have to. Like this is one of the things with sound changes is that you never really have to do anything. Like there's a lot of correlates, there's a lot of, more likely than nots, but there's pretty much never a situation where it's like, if you have these sounds, then you must do this sound change, because there are languages that have uvulas that don't have uvula coloring. So we don't have to include that if you don't want to. So I guess that's the first question. Do you want to have uvula coloring?
I think yes. To some extent, yes.
Cool. And what that extent is, so if we imagine, so we've got let's go with qi, qe, and qu. Okay. So yeah, so we know that uvula coloring will cause the vowels to move down or back or both. But the extent to which they do so is kind of up to you. So the sort of light version of this, I think one of the sort of softer ways that this could happen is we could say that the uvula makes the vowel more lax in some way. Like, for example, if qi goes to, you remember what this vowel is?
E.
One more time.
Is that the E or the I? I don't know. Okay. Should have stuck with the guns there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means that this very strongly pronounced tense E now weakens a bit and becomes I. And we could do the same thing so that K, this E vowel, lowers a bit, or not lowers, well, kind of lowers. Yeah. You remember what this one is?
Eh?
One more time?
Eh?
Yeah. Like as in like pet. Yes.
Very good. Okay,
so
cool.
Instead of it becomes And then if we wanted to, we could also we could change who. So that oo becomes like, nope, not that. Although maybe that. There we go. And you remember this one?
Is that just like kind of?
Not quite.
I don't know.
If the tense version is ooh, you just relax a little bit. Ooh, like in push, for example. Put.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So basically, if we went with this, that would mean that these particular vowels become. Oh, I guess I don't know why I didn't think of that. We could do that as well with ho or ho with like a strong or becomes. Nope, not that. Becomes more open. So or. So basically, we just say that vowels become lax
Okay.
after uvulas.
Okay.
That's one way we could do it. A more drastic way that we could do it is to just say that we have wholesale vowel lowering, so that like ki and ku become khe and ko. And that is what I did in Takfamir.
Okay.
So in Takfamir, you just can't have any high vowels after a uvula, just as a general rule. Or we could focus rather than lowering and do backing so that ki and khe could maybe centralize. So we could maybe do nope. Nope. What's happened to my IPA keyboard? Why has my IPA keyboard stopped working? 1 second. Nope, it's just not. Oh, now it's working. No, it's not. Hold on. Let me just check something quickly.
I don't have any. Yeah. Okay.
Hi. There we go. Okay.
Ooh, with a little line. Okay.
Yeah, do you remember what that vowel is?
You say remember like I ever knew. I don't know.
This is a tricky one, I think. It's the vowel, so it's like kind of halfway in between an I and an oo, at least in terms of the fronting. So I always think of it as the sound you make when you're disgusted by something. You go ugh. That's that vowel. Ugh.
Ooh. Okay.
I was thinking that ki centralizes to k, and then we can do the same thing. He becomes k. So, yeah, I guess we'll start with those three. Are any of those three options particularly calling out to you?
So I like the idea of the third one, but I feel like, and I mean, I know I'm not supposed to think about romanization. I'm not supposed to think about that, but I'm also like, no one is going to read like those vowels. Not a single reader will like, there's not a way I can spell that, I don't think, for readers to pick up on it. So,
but there are ways that you can destroy the central vowels later.
Okay.
So if you don't like those, there are other ways to deal with them. But for the time being, yeah, I can understand the trepidation. But is there? Are you building up to a different option?
So I don't like the second one for this.
You don't like the second one?
No. The first one, I like it, but I feel like it's a little too mild, but also I feel like that could be okay given that there's going to be other things happening. Like I feel like the first one is all still mostly within sounds we might have anyway in there.
Okay. How do you strike things through? How do you do like a cross out?
Why is this being fussy? Also, why did my poor thing go away? It's usually there's a little drop down up here for it, but hold on. I'm going to mess this up real quick. Does it? Okay, we'll just do it this way. Beep. Oh no, was I not clicking on it? Format, text, strike through. Okay.
There we go.
Uh-huh.
Excellent. So, you were saying about the first one.
Mm-hmm. It's a little boring, but I like it. Like, I like that it's like, it seems very attainable, but a little boring. Like, it doesn't quite go far enough.
Okay. So, there's no clear winner between the first and the third one.
No. They need to, like, have a baby.
Okay. We can do that.
Okay.
I need a second to think of exactly how, but
Quite a confident response for
no, we can definitely make it work.
Okay.
Just because while we're thinking about how we want the vowels to work, again, going back to this idea of the 3-vowel system, something that when I saw you'd written that down, something that occurred to me as an option, again, not to get a 3-vowel system necessarily, but to kind of get the flavor of a 3-vowel system while not actually having a 3-vowel system, is that languages will sometimes lose vowel contrasts in certain syllables, dependent on stress. So, like, for example, or not even necessarily stress, but often it has to do with stress. So, like, a stressed syllable, like, pretty much by definition, you're kind of hammering it harder than the other syllables, and so you can get more sort of extreme realizations of vowels, to put it in a very sloppy way. So, like, one sound change that I have seen, that I know happens in some languages, I can't think which, but I know I've seen it before, is that the mid vowels, like e and o, when they're stressed, they become e and u. So that would mean if we did that, then within a stressed syllable, you would only ever get those 3 vowels, a, e, and u. So it would be kind of like having a 3-vowel system, but only in stressed syllables. Or alternatively, sometimes languages lose contrasts in unstressed syllables. So, like, I know Russian does this. I don't know much about Russian, but I know that Russian has a rule where I'm pretty sure that it's that O unrounds in some way. So I don't know what its exact realization is, but like, outside of stressed syllables, O goes to, I'm sure someone in chat will be able to tell me, but I can't remember if it goes to ah, or maybe it's a schwa. I don't know. So, like, just to make up a random example, if you had a word like and, let's just say, for the sake of example, the stress is on the, how do you do stress? Oh, well, you know what I mean. Let's say the stress is on the ro, right? So that would change to, like, so what was koromo would now come out as kuroma. You see?
Okay, that is interesting.
So basically, we'd be losing the number of contrasts that are made, but in a way that we still retain a decent number of vowels. It's just it kind of feels more like a 3-vowel system, or like a system with a reduced number of vowels.
I do like that. I do like that. I think that could work well. Good
Cool.
vibe.
And yeah, it doesn't have to be just related to stress. Like sometimes the initial and final syllables can be sensitive to this. Yeah, this is something I did in Ilothwe, where in Ilothwe, even though Ilothwe has 6 vowels, there's just a rule that the final syllable of any word can only have an a, e, or u. So it has a 3-vowel, only 3 vowels are possible in the final syllable. And theoretically, you could do the same thing in the initial syllable as well.
That could be interesting.
Sometimes the syllable immediately before or after the stress syllable sometimes has a reduced number of vowel qualities. So there's lots of different options to play with. It basically all comes down to, again, the vibe that you're going for. So if we have a look at what you've the sample words that you have written down, let's have a look. So I know you said you had gave no thought to how these would actually be pronounced. But
I mean, like, I tried a little bit, like I have the attempted like romanization, and I like fake pronounced like a little bit, but again, it's probably all wrong. So I tried a little.
Well, that's all well and good. So if you could go ahead and give us your best rendition of that first word there.
I mean, the one that's not in the IPA, without actually pronouncing any of the letters correctly by like basic B American pronunciation, would be Karuman, which is definitely not right.
No, that's good. So you're putting the stress on the ru.
Okay, yeah. I liked the ones that were 3 syllables.
Like younger brother or something. Sorry, go ahead.
I said I like the ones that are 3 syllables.
Okay, cool. And so, yeah, you're imagining the stress on the ru for that one. Now, with the stress system that we're inheriting from the seedling, that counts stress from the left edge. And so you're pretty much always going to have primary stress on the first syllable. So that would mean that if we did want it to be pronounced Karuman, or, something with the equivalent intonational pattern, we would need to implement some rule to change the stress, which is totally doable. Because I'm thinking if we say that, if we keep the stress on the initial and then change the vowel qualities in stress syllables, then functionally that is exactly the same thing as changing the vowel qualities in initial syllables. So
I do like that.
So you like the idea of initial syllables having a limited set.
Yeah.
So one way we could do that is just to say that, because in the earlier stage of the language, the stressed syllable and the initial syllable are basically the same thing. So we could say that the stressed syllable, aka the initial syllable, the vowels change, like mid-vowels raise, and then later on stress changes to some other. But that would mean that we'd go back to having a larger set of vowels in stressed syllables again. So it's up to you.
I think that would be fine.
Okay, so you like having a larger number of vowel qualities in stressed syllables.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, cool. So then we'll just write down here initial vowel raising. Do we like the idea of vowel raising specifically, or do we want some other kind of change to happen? Vowel raising is, I think, pretty common in stressed syllables. So I would say that was probably the most like the safest option.
That works.
Cool. So A and O.
Mm.
Oh, and we could, since we do have a schwa, we don't have a phonemic
Mm.
But if we say that mid vowels raise, we could include the schwa in that.
Mm.
And so that means that purely allophonically, we have an in initial syllables. But that's the kind of thing, honestly, when it comes to romanization, that it might not even be worth writing that differently. Like, very few people, unless they're like really in it for the conlang, you know, most people aren't really going to be able to reliably distinguish or care about the difference between an initial versus an initial you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
most people, they'll just think of that as being like the same sound. So
yeah.
As long as the sound remains allophonic, I don't think those need to be written differently.
Okay. That should work then.
Cool. Then where do we go from here? Well, another thing that immediately comes to mind looking at the sound chart, got this sound, the voiced uvular stop.
Okay.
And this sound, I happen to love this sound, which kind of sucks for me because it's a very, very rare sound for a number of reasons. One, I guess I'll just throw in this little tidbit that generally speaking, very generally, this is definitely not a 100% rule, but generally speaking, the further forward a consonant is in the mouth, the easier it is to voice.
Okay.
So, like, the most common voiced stop cross-linguistically is b. If a language has any voiced stops at all, then it's almost certainly going to have b. Again, not a 100% rule like Finnish. Finnish has p but no b. So again, take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
But very generally speaking, like Arabic has b but no p. Arapaho also has b but no p. There are various languages where there is a b but there is no p. Whereas conversely, as you move back in the mouth, the sounds become harder to voice. So there are a fair few languages where there is a k but no g, despite the fact that there's b and d. There's other voiced stops, but there's a missing g. Like again, Arabic. Arabic has no g, only k. So having this g, this voiced uvula, is very, very rare. The only language I can think of that I've seen that has it phonemically, allegedly, is Mongolian. According to the sound chart that they have on Wikipedia, Mongolian has a gl. And also according to that same chart, it doesn't have a k, which is astoundingly weird.
Okay.
Like, uvulas are already kind of rare. They're not super rare, but, you know, they crop up from time to time, but they're relatively rare sounds. But having this gl and not this k is just like so contrary to what we would expect. It's really bizarre.
Nima
sorry?
Nima is saying, I speak Persian, which has voiced uvular stops, and it's fun to try to get people to say words with a lot of them. So maybe Persian is one?
I did not know. This I have to see. Yeah, in Central Iranian Persian, r and q have merged into r to r. Wow. Very cool.
I
Well,
honestly, okay, I like the idea. I mean, I'm okay with losing the aspirated ones because I feel like the aspirated ones maybe don't work here, but like I kind of want to keep both of them. Like that's kind of like the ones that I was like kind of wanting us to get here. I don't feel like this is that hard to pronounce personally.
interesting.
If that works.
Well, yeah, we can totally keep it if you want. Again, there's
Mm-hmm.
no 100% rules. Like that's exactly what I did in Alothwe. I like this sound, and so I just said I want to keep it, and so
Mm-hmm.
there you go. But I will throw in that sound very often. It becomes a
Mm-hmm.
like um, like the upside down R that you have in
Mm-hmm.
your sample words, or some of the small caps like the French like sound.
Mm-hmm.
So what we could do is that we say in the what do you call it? I keep wanting to say crown group, but that's a biology term. What do you call it in linguistics? The stem, the first bit of the branch.
Okay. Yeah.
Where's the tree? So we said this is P, right?
Yeah. P.
Yeah. So maybe P keeps gl,
Mm.
but in some or all of the daughters, that gl changes.
We can do that. That could be fun.
So that will give us a fair bit of variation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
other question.
Mhm.
For my brain, if you had to attempt to Romanize that sound
Mhm.
for a poor, sad little American, how would you do it?
So I think the standard ways of doing it are either GQ, which is what I did in Alothwe, or QG, because Q is customarily used in transcriptions of languages that have uvulas for the k sound, the voiceless version. And then if you put a G in front of it, it's just sort of suggesting it's like halfway between a g and a k. So
Yeah, that makes more sense. Like if I were to try to pronounce them, I feel like that one's closer.
mm-hmm.
Okay, sold.
Yeah. The difficulty with Q is that a lot of like in English speakers, it's pretty heavily like reinforced that the Q always occurs with a w, and so like when they see a word written down, like you read A Song of Ice and Fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a bunch of words in Valyrian that have a Q in them, and when English speakers pronounce them, they always insert a W in there, like the word for little brother is Valonqar, but they pronounce it like Valonqua with a qu. So as long as you're okay with that and prepared with that, then
I think that's okay, especially because like these will definitely need little pronunciation guides at the beginning. So as long as they can pronounce it, right? Because like even though they might not intuitively quite do that one correctly, it's a small thing and it's not like they wouldn't be able to pronounce it. You know what I mean? And as long as I can put it in the pronunciation guide and actually have it like in a way where I could spell it out that they'd be like, oh yeah, I can see how that's spelled. And then we won't have a kale situation, which apparently has traumatized the book community. So
very good.
mm-hmm.
Now, returning to something that you just offhandedly said a second ago, you said you were thinking that we could get rid of the aspirates.
Yeah, I feel like those could go. I don't know. I don't feel like we need them.
Because we, generally speaking, with aspirates, like I'm probably guilty of overusing this sound change, and we've already done this for the Italianate branch. But if you like, aspirate stops very frequently become fricatives. So if goes to fur, t goes to either s or th, k goes to h, or rather h. That's very, very common way of getting rid of them. So if you wanted to have those sounds, you could do that, but that is exactly what we did in the Italianate language.
Yeah,
So
I don't feel like
something different.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to like the idea of having like an F sound in here is like bleh.
Okay, no F. Okay, that's
No F.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah. It is not sufficiently chartreuse enough, Bib. Do I know what that means? No.
Do you have synesthesia, or is that just a associated thing?
I don't think I technically do. Like, there are a few things that I would describe as colors, but like I don't feel like it would be accurate to say I properly have that. Like, I feel like sensations have colors a lot, but that could just be my own personal associations. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never been officially tested or diagnosed or anything, but I do have. There are certain words that have certain tastes for me.
Mm-mm.
Like I can't actually like literally taste anything, but there are certain words, not very many, but some of them just have like a certain, like the word encyclopedia. It's like a very, very sweet, sort of lemony, like a lemon sorbet kind of thing. Then, and I don't know why. I just always had that. Anyway, what was it that we just said? No F.
Yeah. Which I've seen someone suggested we could always attempt a dental fricative. Someone said we could go the other way and make them adjectives, which I feel like I don't want either. I don't want adjectives.
Ooh.
I feel like that.
Well, what I was going to suggest is a relatively boring option. Is we could just say that they just lose aspiration and just merge with the tenuous ones. That is, I'm fairly certain that happened in the history of Dutch, because Dutch is one of the only Germanic languages that does not have any aspiration, if I remember correctly. The other option, and this is the only reason I bring this up, is because I did this in Nakachti, just because I thought it was cool, because George actually suggested this on an old episode of Conlangery, and I thought it was a really cool idea, so I just copied it. But in Nakachti, I had the aspirated stops, at least in some environments, go to a co-articulated S. So like pa, ta, ka became psa, tsa, ksa.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I would have done it differently if I could go back and do it now. I simplified things in ways that I shouldn't, but that's not important. So that's one option. The other thing that occurs to me that might go well with this sort of, if I feel like it might match the vibe that you're going for, is that in Navajo does have phonemic aspirated stops, and they're usually described that way as just aspirated stops. But actually, the way they're properly pronounced is instead of just aspiration, like instead of just a little puff of air, there's a velar fricative, like a ch afterwards, velar to uvula. So like instead of p, t, k, it's p, t, k.
That is cool.
So we could just say that, that's just how they become realized in this particular language.
Try to think how you would you put a Q on the back of them?
Well, it depends on how we're pronouncing the velar fricative, because in the IPA the ch sound is with an X, which I find for most readers, I think an X would be confusing, because I think most English speakers would associate that with a KS sound.
Yeah.
So if you do like a PX, they'll read that as like px or something weird.
Yeah, we don't want that.
The standard way of representing a velar fricative is with a KH. But if we have, we're getting rid of aspirates. If we get rid of the aspirates, then we don't have, because usually the KH either means ch or an aspirated K. So if we have both of those sounds, we need to represent them differently. But if we're getting rid of the aspirated ones, then that doesn't matter. So, pa would be like PKH. Pa.
I like it, right? I feel like it hits the vibes. I just worry that the distinction would end up being useless because no one would pronounce it like that.
Well, I mean, it could be one of those like little, things that you throw in there, like, oh, if you really want to pronounce this in like an authentic way, like most people would say like apa, but if you say that, you're immediately outed as being like an ignorant foreigner. If you really want to properly say
That's
this, like,
true.
you have to say apa, It's like
it could be fun for like the people that know, like a little thing that they know but other people don't, but it's close enough that you're not really pronouncing it that wrong. Like it wouldn't be a kale situation. Let's do it.
A kale situation.
In Sarah J. Maas, in her book, The Throne of Glass series, there's a character whose name is spelt Chaol. And
Chaol?
Yep. And a lot of people pronounce it like kale or like cowl. Like there's a lot of different ways people pronounced it. And then the audiobook came out and it was kale, and people were like the amount of trauma instilled on the book reading community was apparently very intense. And now readers will not there's a lot of readers in that like fantasy group that don't want to read books with weird words if they don't have a pronunciation guide, because they're like, I'm going to be wrong and then I will be made a fool of, and I don't know. It's a thing.
That's a weird one.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you know the thing about Dothraki? You know how George R.R. Martin pronounces it?
Oh no. No, I don't know.
I don't know I can't remember the full story, but David met George R.R. Martin at some point, and George R.R. Martin was like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy who came up with the language for the Dothraki."
No.
Yeah. And he still insists on that pronunciation.
It sounds so wrong.
It really does. I guess he was going for like a Latin thing of like a long I in the plural, but that just is so
not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay, so these are becoming like, what did you say it was? They become more like what was the word for that?
I guess you could say velarized.
So like, I know this isn't the right place to put it, but yeah.
Yeah, they just have like a more of a velar release. And the important thing here, so we have to keep in mind that it might seem like this is two consonants. If we say like p, for example, it sounds like p and then a ch afterwards. But on a phonological level, that's still just one consonant, right?
Right.
Because it's coming from the single p sound.
Yeah.
So even though we don't have word initial consonant clusters, this would not count as a cluster. So you could still have a word start with p and t, etc.
Yeah.
Now, if you like that, we can keep that. That's completely fine. Or, and this is the thing that I regret about Nakashti that I didn't say earlier. In Nakashti, I said that they basically just get reinterpreted as being consonant clusters. Like at some point, the speakers just decide that there's actually two consonants there instead of one, which is exactly what happened in like the history of, say, Latin to Italian, where in Latin you had the qu sound, which is the labialized K that is one consonant, qu. It sounds like a K followed by a W, but it's actually, they're released at the same time, qu. But then at some point in the history of Italian, they're like, actually, no, those are two sounds. And so now in Italian, they've gotten rid of that consonant and replaced it with just a qu sequence. So I said that same thing happens in Nakashti. And so now they're treated as two separate sounds, which I regret. But
yeah, I feel like I like the idea of keeping them one sound, and then you can have those starting it. And I feel like that could be lovely.
Okay, cool.
I like it.
Because again, with our rule that we have for the adding the vowel at the beginning to get rid of any initial clusters. So these would be unaffected by that. Yeah.
I like that.
Cool. What else? The palatals. So this is actually something that I was going to bring up next time we talked about the Italianate language, because I had thoughts. Because as far as I remember, you and Jake haven't actually decided to do anything with the powerfuls yet. They're still just powerfuls.
Frantic scrolling. That's not it. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, they're all just still there.
Yeah, they're all still there.
Yeah, we use those in a lot of things. Yeah.
So powerfuls are, like, especially powerful stops are relatively rare, and they tend to turn into other sounds in various ways. Again, we can absolutely keep them if you just like them. But like I see you've written in there that so like the powerful stop yeah can kind of be approximated with like a ch kind of, and the aspirated version ch is kind of like a ch. So what I was going to suggest, again for the Italianate language, just because to me, this vibes more with Italian than Arabic, but to say that those sounds become those stops become affricates and fricatives. So, like for example, the kya could just go to could just go to ch everywhere. The aspirated version kya could go to maybe like sh, and then the voiced version kya could just go to j, and then that would be like Italian has all three of those sounds. And in fact, while we're at it, I will leave Jake to. I don't want to step on Jake's toes too much because I feel like this is much more their language than mine. But to sort of again thinking about the situation in Italian. So have we covered palatalization before?
I feel like that's a thing. I feel like I'm not seeing it here, but I feel like that's a thing that I am familiar. I mean, like, there's a box in there somewhere that's familiar with that concept. Am I right here, right now, familiar with it? No, but.
So palatalization is a very, very common sound change where it's almost like the opposite of uvular coloring, kind of. No, that's a bad way of putting it. Ignore that. Basically, because the vowels e and e are like right at the front of the mouth, whereas the sounds like k and g are towards the back of the mouth, a lot of the time, a k or g followed by a front vowel, the k and g will get dragged forward, so it goes like the syllable ki, for example. If the K gets dragged forward, then it goes ki, 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 chi, chi. So, like, this is just a standard rule in Italian. Anytime you have a letter C before an I or an E, it's pronounced ch, always. So, like, the singular of the word friend is amico, and in the plural, you change the final vowel to an I, but it's not amici. It would have been amici in Latin, but in Italian, it's amici. The ch because there's an I after it. So that to me is very Italian. So that's something that you could do in this language, but it has nothing to do with the Arabic language. So.
Okay, I wrote a note down. Jake saying something about proto-palatals and post-alvolars.
Very good. Yes, I will leave that to you then, Jake.
Yeah, we will address.
What this kind of reminds me of, and I might need to do some sneaky Googling because I can't remember the specifics, but basically there was a sound change that happened very early on in the history of the Indo-European languages, where basically Proto-Indo-European had a series of, I think it was palatals or palatalized, maybe, I can't remember, some series of consonants that was basically pronounced more or less at the palate. And in one branch, those sounds, I think, merged with the velar sounds. And those are called the Kentum languages, because that Latin is one of those languages. So what would have originally been pronounced like something like Kentum, like a Kentum, is now just Kentum, which is how it's pronounced in Latin. Whereas in the other branch, the Satem languages, which are like Avestan is the classic example, which is where Satem comes from. Satem is the same word as its cognate with Kentum in Latin, is pronounced Satem in Avestan, because the palatal sounds became sibilants, became fricatives. So like that kya at the beginning, whereas in Latin it became, well, not just Latin, but in a lot of other European languages, it became k. In Avestan, it became s. So we could maybe do a similar thing here.
Okay.
Whereas in the Italianate branch, we're saying if these palatal sounds become post-alveolar and ultimately become fricatives and affricates, so you get ch and sh and all of those, then maybe in this language, and actually that kind of parallels. So sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but
it's okay. I'm following.
Okay, cool. So if we go with this idea that in the Italianate Dorje language, the uvulars merged with the velars, right? So p, k, and gl are gone, and now they've just pronounced k, and g. Maybe in this branch, the palatals merge with the velars.
Ooh.
So it kind of mirrors it in just a different way.
I like that. Sold.
Okay. Cool.
Sold.
I'm gonna write that in. Then palatals merge with velars. Well, specifically the palatal stops because we still have a y kicking around, presumably.
Yeah. So that means I can make these red.
Yes.
Murdered.
Palatalized velars is the academic consensus. Okay, I thought it was something to do. There was a little nagging voice in the back of my head telling me that it had actually nothing to do with being palatalized, but I'm glad I was on the right track. Okay. So we've gotten rid of the palatals. I sometimes feel bad for the palatals because I hardly ever use them, and I pretty much always end up just getting rid of them in one form. Right. So what time are we at? So we've got like 40 minutes left.
Yeah. It's a lot of time. Someone said satamization woo very loudly.
Yes. So the two terms are kintomization and satamization for those two sound changes.
Okay.
Right. So where do we want to go from here? I guess I should also mention this. Palatals can also sometimes influence the following vowel. So especially, again, now this is a better analogy for the opposite of uvular coloring, because whereas uvulars tend to drag vowels back, palatals tend to drag vowels forward. So like in Mandarin, for example, you have certain sounds that cause the following vowel to front. So like, what's an example? Like the word for fish is spelled in the romanization system just Y-U. But it's not pronounced U, it's pronounced Y. So that U comes forward into an E vowel. And yeah, it's the same thing with other consonants like xia. Mandarin has a xia vowel. And if there's like an U that comes after that, it's not xiu. It sort of drags it forward to xu. So what we could say is before the palatals are lost, they have some effect on the vowels. So maybe if there's like a back vowel or something that comes after a palatal, then it moves those vowels forward. And then when the palatals are lost, we now have a bunch of new phonemic vowels.
That could be cool. I kind of like that. Then it's kind of like, I like it. Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. So if we think about what that could involve, so we have this 6-vowel system. So I guess the first question is, do we want front rounded vowels? So like the vowels E and I, like in like German, for example, the word Uber, like the app, the car thing, in German it's pronounced Uber, like it's not Uber, it's Uber. How do we feel about that vowel?
I don't hate it.
Does it fit the vibe?
Let's consult the mood board. No.
No?
No.
So like if I just came up with this random word, charista.
Well, that sounds fine.
That sounds fine?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay, so this vowel does fit the vibe?
Say it again.
Charista.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you say it with other stuff, it sounds okay again. That's fine. Okay. Yes. We're good.
And for the slightly lower version, no, that's wrong. Actually. Charista. That uvula trill is really hard to hit consistently for me, but charista. Charista.
That one's a little iffy.
I mean, I'm doing a bad job of that one. If I change if I change it to canista.
It fits the vibes. Do I have any idea how we would spell it? No, but that can be okay.
So usually, well, not usually, but one of the ways that front rounded vowels can be written is with the diaresis, with the 2 dots over it. So like an E is a U with 2 dots, and an I is an O with 2 dots. Okay. That's how it's written in like German and Turkish and sort of Finnish, but Finnish also uses a Y for the E.
Okay.
Because in IPA the E is written with a Y, so you can use that as well.
Okay. I vote we keep it. Is it partially because Jake just commented with good luck getting Maddie to pronounce that though? Now I want to keep it. I like it.
Not that hard. It's just, you say E and then you round your lips as you say it. E.
Yeah, I feel like this isn't that bad.
E.
E.
Yeah, that sounded pretty good.
Ha!
Yeah, got it in one.
Woo! I'll take it. Will I remember that like next time we look at this? Maybe not, but we'll pick it back up. It's fine.
Well, also, even if at a later point you change your mind and you decide no, these vowels don't fit the vibe, it is also very, very common for these vowels to lose their rounding as well, so that E and I go to E and A. So we could just ditch them really easily if you wanted to.
If we decide to. Okay. Yeah. Right now, that sounds awful, but maybe we'll change our minds later.
So,
I got 10
track of where everything is. Okay, so before palatal starts merge with velars, we say that the back vowels O and U become E and E. Why did it delete my underscore? Before palatals. Post palatal back vowel fronting. Okay. So that's cool. So we're potentially adding an I and an E, and these would be phonemic once the palatals disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we want to do now?
Do we want to change the table? I don't know where those go in the table.
Well, those would be, so E is the rounded version of E, so we would have to add, how do you edit tables on this thing again?
Do you want another column?
Yeah, another column and another row. So unrounded, rounded, and then we would have E and I. What color are we using for new sounds?
Green.
Oh, that's dreadful.
Oh, that is dreadful.
There.
What? They are not biles. They vibe. They vibe. They're very wasabi, which is also basically chartreuse. So, come on, Miles.
Interesting. Yeah, what does can I ask what bit of bit but soft looking and pretty means?
Oh, it's that's a typo. I don't really know how that happened, but it was supposed to say like a bit like sharp or a bit spicy, like a bit harsh, okay, right? But still has that, like, you know what I mean?
I think so, but that's not important. The only thing that's important is that you know what you mean. Because like, again, a lot of the time people describe language in these very airy-fairy terms of I want it to sound very flowing or mellifluous or guttural or all these terms that don't actually really mean anything. But if that means something to you, that's good.
Yeah. And Nima had it. Bit of bite. That's what it's supposed to say. Embracing her Kiki mode. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So what do we want to do next? Let's just have another look at your sample words. So your sample words. So do we actually want to get pharyngeals at any point? Because pharyngeals are, so this H with the line through the top, that's the sound ha. It's kind of like a really, if you kind of, it's a very forceful H sound. Like,
I mean, I do feel like that seems like it's hard to pronounce. I just feel like that'd be really hard to Romanize.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever. I have pharyngeals in the proto language for Takvamir, but I've never like had a need to actually properly Romanize them.
Yeah.
So
I feel like maybe we don't go quite that far because there's already going to be enough tricky things in here that maybe that's, or maybe we can add those, like, well, I don't know if we could even do that, but like maybe one of the granddaughters can like pull in some of those or something if we feel like we could handle it then. But, and by we, I mean me.
So yeah, I did some research beforehand because I was thinking, how can we get pharyngeals? Because I don't want to have to resort to just anytime we run into any kind of situation where we want to add a new sound, just say it existed in the seedling, because then we have, just all the sounds in the seedling, and that would be cheating. So the pharyngeal sounds can come from that uvular stop, that sound that you said you liked and wanted to keep. So I guess we could say that the early, like, P keeps that sound, whereas in the daughters, in some or all of the daughters, that sound, it's already quite likely to weaken to a and then that in various environments can become pharyngeal or excuse me.
Okay.
So for the time being, we'll just keep it as a voiced uvula.
Okay.
Now, I'm thinking about the syllable shape again and what we can do to minimize the complexity of these clusters. Because one easy way of doing it would just be to say that an R or an L is just lost when it comes before another consonant.
Right.
Because with the syllable structure that we have in the seedlang, the only time you get, as long as I'm interpreting this correctly, the only time you get 3 consonants in a row is when the first consonant is an R or an L, right?
I think so. Jake can confirm that at their leisure or not.
So it would be relatively easy to say that the R and the L is just lost in that environment, and just like that, we go to just having 2, a maximum of 2 consonants in a row. That almost feels too easy.
Okay.
So we could say that the L, like L vocalization is a thing that happens, where L sometimes turns into, depending on the language, it can either turn into a y or to a w. So like in Italian, for example, again, we keep coming back to Italian, but so in Italian, the letter L, when it came after another consonant, turned into a y. So like what in Latin was like flora, or flora, there we go, with a fl, in modern Italian is fiora, with a y. Alternatively, the l sound can turn into a w, which I think happened in the history of Polish. Someone fact check me on that, but I can tell you that it also happened in the history of Nakashti, which is one of my own languages. There is a rule in Nakashti, basically because of the way that L changed over time, where if you have any situation where you have an L, if you have any sequence where an L would come in coda position, the L is deleted and the previous vowel, no matter what it is, turns into an O. So like nal becomes no. Just because the L became a W, and so that would have, like, originally nal would have gone to like now, but then all diphthongs simplified into monophthongs, so all instances of ow became o, for example. And so now it's just like a rule that you just have to know.
I do have a lot of like W's in some of these without it currently being on our table.
You are correct. There is currently no w. That is interesting. The L is one place where we could get a W. Like a pretty non-controversial way of getting a W is you just say that oo turns into a w when it's next to another vowel. So if you have a word like, I don't know,
oh, and Jake says we could get an ACCA cluster.
We could get an ACCA cluster. Right. That is true. So that would mean you have a maximum of 4.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we will deal with that in due course. So what was I in the middle of thinking about?
W's?
Yes. So
yeah.
like if we had a word like, why is that? No, that's not what I said at all. No. There we go. So if we had a word like this, like assuming that the stress is initial, it would be like kalua. It's really easy to see how that would turn into like kalua. That
Yeah.
you just shortens up into a word.
Mm.
So we could do either one or both of those things. I guess in this example as well, if we say that the L turns later on turns into a oh, that's actually kind of interesting, because if the coda L, if we say that coda L turns into a W, then we can get kawa. So this is something. How do you feel about having two W's in a row?
Hold on, let me vibe it.
Or two Y's in a row as well.
Neutral.
Neutral, okay. Because generally speaking, we've talked about geminates before. Geminates are where you use a consonant for twice its usual length. And generally speaking, geminate was and yas are kind of rare. I'm fairly certain that there might be some exceptions, but I think that ya is the only consonant that Italian doesn't allow to be geminated.
Okay.
But Arabic does, I know for a fact, allow geminate W and geminate Y.
So that could be a cool way to bring that in. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think it's very neutral on the like the mood vibe, but I feel like the essence of it is good.
Okay. We're going with geminate glides. That's going to be a thing. Right. What else? So, idea. I am wondering. I know we've already talked about the aspirated stops, but like, let me just complete this thought first. Sorry, buffering. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if this is actually going to work or make sense, but I'm going to go for it.
Okay.
So, in the Italianate language, we're saying that the aspirated stops become fricatives, right? And in this language, the aspirated stops become velarized. That would mean that at this point, there is basically a one-to-one correspondence between, like, if there's a f in the Italianate language, then there will be a p in the same place in this language, right?
Right.
So I don't know if everyone has the same instinct as me, but when I'm making daughter languages that diverge from a single sort of starting language, I kind of like to make them as different from each other as possible and kind of hide the so it's not like necessarily as one-to-one. So I'm thinking if there's a way to get more, or it'll change the distribution of aspirated versus unaspirated stops. And a sound change that I have had on the mind recently, because I am intending to use this for Project Hermes, that I talked about very briefly in the talk I gave at Copicon, is that not very often, but it is reasonably common for unaspirated stops to become aspirated after S. So that means that if we had a proto word that was like asta, then if we were to implement this change, then that would come out as asta. Then because we're doing this velarization thing, that would ultimately become astra. Or astra, rather. I'm doing that too strong. Astra. Astra. I'll get it right eventually. Now, first of all, do you like that?
Yeah.
Do you like the stra, like the having the S there as well?
I feel like I might eventually then want the S to go away, maybe?
Yes, that is something we can do, because that is what happened in the history of the Celtic languages. The S caused aspiration and then disappeared. So essentially it would be just a way of generating more of these like pa, ta, ka sequences. Or not sequences, they're individual consonants.
Yeah, I like that. I think that works well.
Okay, cool.
So, it keeps it from not being, those clusters from getting too chonky.
In putting stop, then disappears. Okay, that's cool. Now, when S disappears, we could say that S just drops to nothing, and like we just lose S as a consonant. We could say that it only disappears in certain environments, like when it's in coda position, for example, it essentially turns into an H and then is ultimately lost.
Okay.
Or, yeah, so I guess first of all, we'll start with that. Do we want to keep S?
No.
No? No. Interesting.
At least not in that condition.
Because not having any voiceless fricatives is unusual, because what might happen is that if we get rid of the S entirely, then the Z might devoice to sort of fill the void left behind by S.
I feel like I definitely wanted to just go away in the condition we had there. Like, I feel like I'd want it to definitely go away all the time there. I do kind of like the idea, though, of like significantly reducing S to be like, it could still be there, but having it be like not common.
Interesting. Yeah, we can do that. Like making it uncommon is relatively easy. Making it like completely disappear and justify that there is just no S at all. That is, I feel like I have seen that. I can't think where, but I feel like I've come across languages that haven't only voiced fricatives. Of course, we still have H. But okay, so we get rid of, at the very least, we get rid of coda S.
Here, yeah. Okay.
And then another thing to think about. I'm just saying these things as they come to my head, so this is all a bit scatterbrained, but have we, or you and Jake, talked about voicing assimilation in clusters?
I don't think so.
So, like, when you have clusters come together that have different voicing, so like, let's say we have a word like abka, for example. So the B is a voiced stop and the K is voiceless. And that's kind of, it's not impossible. You can say it, abka, but in a lot of languages, they will have a preference to keep the whole cluster either completely voiced or completely voiceless. So they will very often change that to either apka. I would say that would probably be the more common option, or alternatively abga.
Okay. And Jake says apparently this is coming. We're yet to do the gemination stuff or germination stuff.
Germination.
No, I think maybe germination's first. I don't know.
I'm not sure what that term means in this context, but I trust you. Cool. So first of all, do we like voicing assimilation in that context? Do we want clusters to agree in voicing? Because again, they don't have to. And I'm not. Arabic is one of my blind spot languages. No, it's not. Not quite a blind spot language, but it's one of those languages that I don't know nearly as much about as I would like to. I'm fairly certain Arabic allows mismatch voicing in clusters. Like Akbar, I think, is that an Arabic word? I know that's a character in Star Wars, but I think it's an Arabic word too.
Isn't that like
professing my ignorance? But
I have literally no idea what the saying is, and maybe this is even the wrong language. But isn't there something that's like something like Allah Akbar or something? Phrase?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It's incredibly obvious in hindsight. Man.
Akbar, yeah, means great. Okay.
Yeah, so assuming that is actually reflective of how it's actually pronounced, which it might not be, then Arabic is fine with that, whereas other languages might not be. So, up to you.
I will say I think that like Akba sounds a lot better than Abka. Like this I feel like does not do it for me at all.
Sorry, which one?
Abka?
You don't like Abka?
No.
Okay. So we do
but
want
I feel like but I feel like the other way is okay. Like I feel like Akba is okay. Like that sounds okay. So is there a way to make the rule like if it's voiced like in one specific order, then it changes?
Yes. I think so.
Okay.
So generally speaking.
Okay.
No, hold on. Let me allow my brain to catch up with itself. So if we have a voiceless consonant coming before a voiced consonant, that's fine.
Okay.
But if we have a voiced consonant coming before a voiceless consonant, that's not fine. And that actually makes a lot of sense. Because generally speaking, the coda of a syllable is the least sonorous part of the syllable. It's the part that it is in some ways the hardest part of the syllable to make distinctions. So like, I'm not doing a very good job of this, but like, like the words like set, sect, and sept, those are kind of, if you're an English speaker, then you can hear the difference between those, but that you kind of have to pay attention to, that coda really carefully.
Yeah.
So having voicing in such a naturally non-sonorous place, it's kind of likely to be lost there. I'm not sure if that explanation actually made any sense, but
yeah,
if we go with that. So coda, do we want this to just be in stops or also in fricatives? Because we could have something like azka, which would go to like either aska or azga. Or if we reverse that, akza become aksa or akza.
Yeah, I feel like we do it in fricatives too.
Okay. Cool. So So, a voiced coda, a voiced consonant devoices when followed by a voiceless consonant.
Mm.
There we go.
Right.
Nice and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I like that. Okay.
And then I'm just going to throw in a note about L vocalization as well.
Mm-hmm.
L goes to W. Whoop, didn't mean to do that.
That would be weird.
No, I didn't. Unless you think that ja would be a. Does ja match the vibe?
Sure.
Ja. Well, as I say, the only language that I can think of that has like a phonemic voiced is Mongolian, which also has ja. So I guess if we did that, we would start going really Mongolian.
Which one did I do? Jake, didn't you say something I was doing sounded a little bit Mongolian? What was it? Was it the Anarad? Was it that one? I'll come back to that. But anyway, I know nothing about Mongolian, but
Mongolian is lovely.
I was hoping you'd say guess, or I was hoping you'd say yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes. Jake is excited with this direction. Mm-hmm.
I'm glad. So we've got like 8 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything in particular that you're just like really rearing to do, like something that you just really want to get done?
I mean, I don't know when we're gonna come back to this. I feel like just being like making sure we have all this stuff documented in like the phonology and wherever is a thing. I know, Jake. I know I pronounce the vowels differently every time. I know. It's bad. I do. It's a shame. Yeah.
You'll get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what we can manage to fit into the remaining like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let me just have a think about vowels.
Okay.
Because we're saying we're losing e, o, and in initial syllables.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying that, oh yeah, we never actually came back to uvular coloring, did we?
Oh, mm-hmm.
That's something that we can do. Because we said it was like, we wanted to kind of combine the first option and the third option.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
What did Miles joked? Breed them.
Yes, we need to breed the uvulars, which sounds horrific out of context. So, you said that the ki, ke, hu, ke, no, ho, there we go, going to ke, ke, ko was a little bit boring, you said?
Mm-hmm. Just a little.
And then ki and ke going to ke and ke, you said would be hard to Romanize. I think that was what you said.
Yeah, like maybe that's like a little too far.
Okay. Well, what if we were to say that the central vowels were lost?
Ooh. Okay.
So if we originally had like ki and ke going to k and k, it would be pretty easy to say that something that I have done before is to say that the central vowels polarize based on stress. So, like in a stressed syllable, k would become like ku, for example. Oh, let me think about this. Does this actually make sense? Let me just. And k becomes like ka. Is that what did I do in a lost way? I can't remember. Hold on. My brain is stalling.
It's okay.
Because this, like, E to U change, that's pretty, that's definitely doable. It's actually the opposite of what happened in Latin, now that I think about it. Because in Latin, there was this sound change where, like the word, what's a word like? The word decimal in English. You know, that comes from the root, you know, deci, and there comes from the Latin word for 10. So it would originally not in Old Latin, but in older varieties of classical Latin, it was actually originally decumal with a U. But then sometime in like the 1st century BC, or maybe 1st century AD, sometime around there, this U sound started changing to an So it was no longer decumal, it was decimal. And the Romans called this the sonus medius, the middle sound or the medium sound, because they said it was kind of like halfway between an U and an E, which it is. And then in later Latin, they fully embraced the E and it became decimal or decimal originally. So this would kind of like be the opposite of that, which I'm fairly certain is justifiable.
George also. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say George proposed and then also said, oh, with an exclamation point, which I'm not sure if that means George has a brilliant idea. But George also proposed Q with the upside down M and Q with a tall A as potential options.
Yeah, we could. So, how do you feel about the vowel? So, this is the vowel. I always have trouble saying it in isolation because they have this vowel in Turkish. So, a word like the word for girl in Turkish is kuz. So it says
like an
kuz. Yeah, not quite not like the central version, not like but like it's further back. It's like saying ooh, except without rounding your lips. So you go ooh like that.
I do kind of like that sound. That's kind of fun. I don't know how you spell that, but
yeah, in Turkish, the way they spell it is with a dotless I. So the letter I without the dot, which means in Turkish you have to have a capital letter I with a dot is E, and a capital I without a dot is So it's kind of weird when you first come across it.
I do like that. I how to spell it could be later problems.
Okay, we can totally do that then. We can say that like yeah, k goes to k, and then k goes to ka. Does that? And do we want... so we could say that for these front vowels, they're dragged back.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to affect who as well? We don't have to. But if you want to add a little bit more to this change, you can say that the who is lowered in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we could say that who, it could just be straight up lowered to a ho, or it could do what we had in option 1 and become k, k. And it could just remain as k. Or what else could it do? I mean, those are the main things that it could do.
Mm.
It could either, yeah.
I like remaining as a horseshoe.
Remaining as a horseshoe. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mm.
And also, I'll just go ahead and throw in that, again, it's reasonably common for the uvular stops to just become velar stops, or to just turn into various other sounds. Sometimes they turn into H. And if they do that, then any of the new sounds that we are generating with this uvular coloring will then become phonemic. So then we will have officially like an sound in the language. But maybe that's something for one of the daughter languages.
That can make sense.
Cool. And I think we're at time. So
yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. So I feel like we got through a lot.
Yeah. I think we've got a lot of ideas going at the very least. Still need to kind of tabulate them up
and see them all. And
yeah, but as a start, I think we are approaching. We're kind of honing in on the vibe.
It is vibing. I think that's good. Yeah, I'm excited, and the mood board thing I think was very effective, both for a way for me to think about it and to like it was good.
Yeah, I find that like when I start, like most of my languages, when I first start out, I have like an extremely vague sort of idea of what I kind of want them to sound like, and then I try and work ever closer approach it with sound changes. But I find that the final version of the language always comes out slightly different than I was originally envisioning them. And I don't know if that's just a problem with me or if, I don't know.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of, it works the same way with writing a book. I'll have like one scene that is my inspiration for the whole book. And then by the time I finish the book, like that scene isn't even in the book anymore. It just, the vision changes and matures.
With Takfamir, the original sort of phonesthetic I was kind of going for, I almost never set out to like consciously copy any natural language, but like I was kind of going for like a sort of Tungusic, Turkic, vaguely Mongolic kind of flavor. And then I've been posting these Luxembourg videos. A lot of people are saying, oh, it sounds so much like Finnish. And like, I could be wrong, but I at no point ever in the entire 6 years I've been working on this language did I ever think to myself like, oh, I'm going for a Finnish vibe. Like that was never even like in the ballpark of what I was aiming for. And yet somehow I've accidentally produced Finnish apparently. So
that's kind of very funny. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. Okay, so we've done the stuff. We have, as Nima pointed out, we are approaching chartreuse.
Yes. Right now we might have a few notes of like tangerine in there, but
yeah, I could see that. So then at some point we will return to this and carry forth with chartreusifying it. Next week Jake should be back. This week, no Let's Have a Booba, no Laying Time Studio, but there is Conlangery on Saturday,
which I may or may not be back for.
Potentially.
I'm
Fair.
still waiting to see how things go this week, but
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else. Do you have anything else, Bib?
No, not really. Just thank you for having me. It was fun.
It was wonderful to have you. Also, we'll end on the wonderful dragon. I'm very into this.
I'm glad.
It's very exciting. It's very fun. It's like, it's good. It's good. Oh, did you not see this, Jake? Were you not, did you not see the dragon? I don't know. But anyway, yes. Okay. Wonderful. So great. It was wonderful, everybody. We will, I will see you next week. We will all see each other around at some point in time. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.